Welcome back. This time we are focusing on the strings of this track, mainly on spiccatos, how I got the sound that I got, why I used only violins and cello, the backend to play the melody, and what actually made the strings get the pattern you hear in the track. This entire song was built around this string spiccato motif. It is simple, but immediately I knew this is going to be a hybrid track when I created them. To get that driving and marching sound, you need to first recognize the velocities. If I play it again, you will hear that I only accentuate every quarter of the notes, even though they are playing the 16ths. Something like this. By properly placing and working with velocities, depending on library you use, you will get that driving motion and seamless transition between the notes. The other neat trick I've used is I will put the cello beneath everything else, just playing the 16th notes. Since this track is in a C key, my cello will play 16th notes, C2, and I will work with the velocities just to accentuate every quarter of the bar. You probably can't hear that cello since it's buried beneath and you get the feeling that entire string section is playing the same melody. But trust me, they are there for a reason, and because of everything mentioned above, we get spiccatos to sound the way they are sounding now. Let's play it again and see if you can hear the difference now that you know informations I mentioned earlier. They are always playing the same melody. The main difference is they rise in octaves as the song progresses and the big backend comes. If you build your song around string pattern, you need to be very creative in how you will make your track going onward without focusing too much on one element and making the song stagnate or become repetitive. The second neat trick I used that you probably didn't even focus on is I combined my spiccato strings with synths, but in a totally different way. I will play you the synth section alone, but let me first explain some things. A lot of people, when they combine their spiccato strings with synth strings, tend to make them use the same velocities, accentuating exactly the same stuff that spiccato strings are accentuating. And that is okay, nothing wrong with that. When I press play on my synths, you will realize I accentuated them in totally different way and notes than my spiccato strings. Basically, I used a normal supersaw synth combined with distortion. You probably now realize that I really love distorting my tracks. By doing this, I created even more forward motion. Let's put it to test. First, synths alone. And now, synth and strings together. You can even hear a plucked synth in there playing the melody. You hear the difference? When you isolate them like this, it sounds maybe weird to some of you, but if I play this entire section and you focus on strings alone, you will hear how this created a totally awesome thing. You can barely hear the strings because the focus is on synths, but when you do, they give that track a marching feeling onwards. If you focus on legato strings, you will hear I didn't use a full string orchestra playing the melody, something a lot of people do. Why, you might ask? Because then everything would fall apart and become too muddy. Too many things going on, and the song would lose its impact and straight in your face feel. You have to realize, I already have brass playing and occupying the middle frequencies. On top of that, I have strings and synth spiccatos doing fast notes, as well as big synth playing the main melody of the track. I used only first and second violins, combined with cello to give it that bit of a low end to play this melody. If I used viola and basses and an entire string section, this simply wouldn't work for this track because of the many things happening that I mentioned in the earlier sentence. This way, every instrument occupies some stereo field and frequency field so they don't clash with each other. Really important tip. EQ is your friend. If I use violins that play in the high register, I will definitely cut off all the lows from them. Why? Because I don't need violin lows. If I didn't do that, their low frequencies would fly all over my track and clash with lows of my synth or drums. The same principle goes for basses and every other instrument out there. Proper EQ can save you a lot of time. Regarding violins, I did something like this.